Committee meeting to order for December the 2nd. We'll start this meeting with the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody please rise. If you would bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us all here together safely. Please guide us in this committee to make the best decisions for Horry County. And please look after all county employees as they go about their jobs today. And thank you for protecting them. Let us all reflect on the true meaning of Christmas and what this time has to offer. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the review and approval of agenda contents. Entertain a motion to approve. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to the approval of the minutes from the October 28th, 2025 meeting. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, aye. The ayes have it. Moving down to new business, independent auditor required communications. Mr. Grant Davis, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Always happy to, even on a wet, cold day. So I've got a presentation here, obviously, just to go through these required communications at the conclusion of our audit, but just to give you a kind of a brief timeline of the matters pertaining to the audit. I was here to discuss the audit itself back in, I think, June, just to keep you all informed of where we are, which was basically nowhere at that point. We had really not started. We'd done some preliminary work, which is customary, but throughout the ensuing months, obviously after June 30th, the year end, we conducted our audit procedures and have issued our opinion, and it was dated in November, right before Thanksgiving. And I see in front of you, you've got this big, beautiful document that's nearly 400 pages. I was sick of looking at that thing by the time Thanksgiving rolled around. It's quite an undertaking, as I'm sure you can imagine, all the information that goes into that. But again, I'm happy to be here to communicate the results of our audit and to talk about the things that we're required to talk about. A little bit unique in this year, and I'll touch on this in a minute, is and you'll see even here this third bullet, the status of the federal single audit. That's a little unique, and I'll leave that as a cliffhanger for the moment. But again, just some sort of the baseline of what I'm going to speak about here for the next few moments. I won't read this to you. This is just information about who we are as a firm. Just needless to say, it's a significant portion of what we do as a firm, and it's really all I do. So you can kind of congratulate me or pity me, however you may feel about that. But working with governments is all I do year round. So here we get to the results of the audit, and if you happen to be flipping around in the book itself, you'll notice right at the beginning of the document that we've issued we've included our independent auditor's report. It goes on for 3 pages, I think, but in any event, first page, second paragraph is our opinion on the financial statements, and it's an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. I think I've said this before, but unmodified is really not glamorous language, but it's really the only acceptable result in a financial statement audit. So again, a clean opinion on the financial statements, and you can read throughout our acronyms as to the auditing standards that we are required to follow and that we did follow relative to the performance of our audit. The last sort of bullet section on this slide refers to, this report is what we call our Yellow Book report. So this is a report on internal controls and compliance over laws, regulations, grant agreements, things of that nature. And this is going to feed into this federal single audit that I was going to speak to in a moment. But historically, there's been a section within the Act for itself called the compliance section. And within that section, we would have this Yellow Book report that's referred to here, and then a report on compliance that's specific to federal awards. This year was a unique year in that the federal government publishes annually a document that they call the compliance supplement, and it is the audit guide for how they want auditors to perform federal single audits, which again are just compliance audits. And just so you're all aware, if you're not, any time or any fiscal year in which you expend over $750,000 in federal money triggers a compliance audit. The federal government comes out with this compliance supplement each year in typically May or June. This year we didn't get a draft until August, and we're still waiting on a final. So what we've done is we've conducted the single audits using the draft. but we're not able to issue our final report on compliance until we have the final document. We think that'll be at any time, so I don't think there's going to be a significant delay. But you'll notice, maybe, I'll tell you something that you'll probably notice now, but there's that compliance section is missing. But the Yellow Book report is available to be issued. It's just not appropriate to be issued aside from the single audit report. So within that, this single audit report is not designed to offer an opinion, but just to say that as a part of conducting our audit in accordance with government auditing standards, if we identified any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls or any instances of noncompliance that are material to the financial statements, we're required to communicate that to you all. And I'm happy to say, as you can read there, that there are we noted no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls, and we noted no instances of noncompliance. This is basically, again, I've already spoken to the status of the federal single audit, but ultimately we're going to be auditing 3 what are called major programs, and you can see I've listed those out there and their dollar amounts. This year, to get us the required coverage, we have to have a certain percentage of federal awards that we audit to get a certain amount of coverage, and no issues to date through the conduct of those single audits. And again, that final report is pending. So here we get to the fun part, for me anyway, the required communications. I certainly won't read all this to you, but a few things just to note. 2 new accounting standards were implemented in fiscal year 25. One was called GASB Statement 101. The other was called GASB Statement 102. Both had an impact on the financials, but I will say they didn't have at least in my view, did not have a significant impact on the financials. So I'll just highlight that there were 2 new accounting standards. And of course, y'all are probably used to that. The GASB's been very active for the last 15 years in issuing new standards, so it seems like every single year we have 1 or 2 new statements to adopt and changes to make relative to those. I think this is probably needless to say, but the financial statements include a variety of estimates. Our job is to evaluate those estimates through what I call inputs and outputs. So the information that is used to develop those estimates is what we audit. And of course, in order to issue our opinion, we feel comfortable with those estimates. Certain examples of those would be things like the useful lives of assets, the discount rate at which the pension liabilities reported, the allowance for uncollectible receivables, things of that nature are those types of estimates. The footnote disclosures just seem like they go on and on and on and on and on if you're going through the document. That's normal for government financial statements, but I will say not a lot has changed in terms of the format. Certainly numbers have changed, dates have changed, but if you open up this year compared to last year, you won't see a wide variety of changes in the way those are laid out or the information that's ultimately being communicated. Happy to say we had a great relationship with management throughout the conduct of the audit, which is obviously essential. We didn't have any disagreements with management. We requested ultimately requested and received representations from management relative to the completeness, the accuracy, the sufficiency of the data that we requested in order to conduct the audit. We had no past adjustments, and I'll explain that for just a moment. There are certain times where we can identify something that needs to be corrected and pass on doing so from a materiality perspective. If we have any of those, we're required to communicate that to you, and I'm happy to say that we didn't identify anything that needed to be adjusted and then pass on doing so throughout the financials there. The only thing I'll mention here is just auditor independence. We're required by our professional standards to be independent over Horry County, and we are. I always just like to highlight that just so everybody remains aware. This is just some kind of brief financial highlights. This is maybe even over 100,000 foot view. Again, this is nearly a 400-page document. You could spend as much time as you wanted to going through this, but I thought I'd just highlight a few things. This is what we call the government-wide balance sheet, basically. In the governmental world, this is called the statement of net position. This is, again, high-level view, but you can see, I won't read these to you, but I will just point out your net position there. That's equity in the governmental world, $2.8 billion. And I've just given some highlights. I mean, you can see within assets, if you do the math, there are more than just cash and investments and capital assets that make up assets, things of that nature. But just some kind of big picture highlights there on the balance sheet. And again, that's all funds, all activities on a full accrual basis of the county. This may be a little hard to read on the screen, at least it is from back here, but this is just the composition of your revenues for fiscal year 25 as compared to fiscal year 24. Again, all funds, all activities. The big blue bar is taxes of all types. followed by fees for services, intergovernmental revenues, so forth and so on. So I'm a chart guy. I don't know why that is, but they're helpful to me to look at, so I've given them to you all. This is same concept, expenditures, all funds, all activities, big orange slice is public safety, which is normal. For county governments, that's what you would anticipate seeing. This is just the numbers from those charts, right? So you got total revenues of $875 million versus expenses of $592 million. Gives you an increase in your equity position of $283 million. And like I mentioned a moment ago, your ending equity was $2.8 billion. Again, all funds, all activities. This is just the general fund now. So a little bit change in concept here, just looking at the general fund. You can see its balance sheet here. The only thing I'll mention here is just the fund balance portion. So fund balance at $203 million, 132 of that's committed. So that's committed by formal action of the county council. 69 million is unassigned, which is basically fund balance that's available for appropriation. It's not committed, restricted, or assigned in some manner. And I'll just kind of flip briefly over here to look at your expenditures. You can see that second bullet there, total expenditures, $242 million. Go back for just a second if I can. Well, sorry. If you take those $242 million in expenditures and just divide that by 12 months, that gives you the figure of the general fund spending about $20 million a month. And so if we compare that to unassigned fund balance and total fund balance, to at $20 million a month, you could operate for about 10 months on fiscal year 25 spending without taking in another dollar. That's, again, total fund balance. If you break that down a little further to unassigned, it gives you about 100 days of fund balance on hand at June 30, 25, again, in unassigned at fiscal 25 spending. Again, the concept here is if you didn't take in another dollar past June 30, 25, you could operate, depending on which fund balance you look at, but unassigned, you could operate for about 100 days. So again, just income statement here, changing the fund balance, the general fund's a $42 million increase, and you can see the kind of the high level composition of that change there. Last few things that I'll mention here, like I mentioned earlier with the new GASB pronouncements, the GASB is going to continue to be active. We've got 2 new standards for 26 coming up that we won't worry about right now. But just to get that on everybody's radar, and then you can see the projects down below that the GASB is considering. Haven't gotten a formal standard yet, but new things on the horizon relative to those matters. I won't spend any time here other than to say we offer a variety of governmental advisory services, and that's what this slide is about, in the event anybody's ever interested in any of that action. But otherwise, I can go all the way to my last slide now and be happy to answer any questions. Before I do that, though, I do want to just commend all the county's management and staff, Barry, Shannon, Jamie, Pam, Betsy, all those who are involved in the preparation of the document, getting us all the information. You're one of the first counties to issue financial statements every year, so I think you should just, I hope you feel like you can be proud in the people who are doing all of this work and ultimately coming up with a huge document that is full of helpful information. And this ACFR is above and beyond financial reporting. This is not something, the ACFR itself includes elements that are not required by state law or by bond covenant. I mean, this is really above and beyond financial reporting that the county has done and has been doing for a long time. So I just want to commend them for all of their efforts. But again, be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions from the committee?
I'm just curious if this can be disseminated to us, because this sort of breaks down this and more.
We said two.
Okay.
And just for the people back home, the committed part is fund reserve balance.
Right.
That's what we were required by county ordinance. So it's really reserve funds.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it, Grant.
Yes,
Good
sir.
job.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, financial update for October 2025. Ms. Jamie Norman.
He always leaves. I try to get him to stay and do financials, but he always leaves.
You do a great job.
So good afternoon. So today we are looking at financials for month ending October 31st. So looking at revenues across all funds, we're at $88 million, 65% of which is coming from the general fund. Looking at expenditures across all funds, we are at almost $111 million with 76% of expenditures in the general fund. Looking at the general fund, we have revenues of $57.2 million, which is 20% of the annual budget. We would expect to be around the 33% mark, but as I mentioned in prior months, the property tax revenue will start coming in that December-January time period. Our expenditures are at $84.2 million, which is almost 29% of the budgeted amount. General fund total actual revenues are 0.6% higher than prior year, and total actual expenditures are 9.1% higher than prior year. Looking at general fund revenues a little more closely, for the month end of October, vehicle taxes, register of deeds, and interest are all performing better than expected for this point in the fiscal year. Looking at expenditures in the general fund, all categories are performing as expected for this point in the fiscal year, with personnel costs at 28% of the budget, and contractual services are slightly higher than expected, which I've mentioned in the past is because we pay those service contracts early in the year. Looking at special revenue funds, fire fund revenues are at 15%, expenditures are at 27%, and there's a net change in fund balance of $5.4 million. Road maintenance fund revenues are at 36% or 38.5%. Expenditures are at 10% with a net change in fund balance of $4.6 million. Beach Renourishment Fund has a net change in fund balance of $5.5 million with very few expenditures thus far in the fiscal year. Continuing with special revenue funds, Stormwater Fund has a net change in fund balance of $30,000. Recreation Fund has a net change in fund balance of $344,000. Waste Management Recycling Fund has a net change in fund balance of $565,000. And again, all of these are performing as expected, and we'll see those revenues increase in the December-January time period. That is all.
Any questions from the committee?
Great job.
Moving on to action items, a resolution to revise the Horry County Employee Guidelines. Mr. Owens.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee members. In the June Administration Committee meeting, when we had our last revisions, I mentioned then that we would probably be bringing back some more that we've been reviewing over time, and that is why it's before you this morning, and we hope that you will consider them. The three areas we're looking at is a conversion of our leave time, some additions, and you'll understand what I mean that they're not so new. And anytime we have the opportunity to make things a little more clearer or simpler, we always do, and we've had some clarification points as well that we've added. The first section, Section 1, our general guidelines, apart from the clarification and the confidential information, we would like to add two new sections. They're not really new, though. Both of them have been around since 2016 as administrator policies, and they're located on a cafe at the moment. The first one, the covert and secret monitoring recording, has been in place since 2016. It is put in place with the intent as employees would not work in an environment where they felt intimidated or scared to speak freely and communicate freely without someone secretly recording them. It's proved to be useful in certain situations. So we want to make this a part of the regular guidelines that council approves. We also would like to add our hiring and selection guidelines that have also been around. Just a brief history. We had hiring procedures in our guidelines from '97 to about 2005. Those guidelines or procedures at the time proved to be inflexible and not very department friendly, especially for public safety. In fact, it slowed down hiring, which was the goal to make the best hiring as fast as possible. But we took it out at that time and spent time over the years refining them. By the time we got to 2016, and since then, almost 10 years, we've locked into some procedures that seem to be flexible enough for everyone, and also, importantly, complies with EEOC requirements. So we'd like to make them a part of our employment guidelines that council approves. Section 4, hopefully I'll give you a brief history. Hopefully I won't be too confusing with this. The vacation and sick leave program that we use now was actually in place from 1997 until 2003. From probably 2001 to 2000, up till 2003, we did studies, we met with groups of employees, and we came up with converting our vacation and sick to one paid time off bank, which proved to be more flexible for employees. It proved to be more administratively easy for our managers. In 2015, the administrator at that time wanted to go back to our vacation and sick leave. And that's how we got to where we are now. So we are proposing that we go back to that one paid leave bank. If we, go ahead, please.
Let him finish first.
I was just curious what the purpose of the change was from the administrator's standpoint.
I don't know if I can intelligently explain it, but I will. It had to do with the amount of leave, which is not going to change. What I said at the time is that it doesn't really matter what leave plan an organization uses. It matters how it's implemented and how it's led, how it's managed. Managers need to know how to say yes to leave requests, but they also need to know how to say no. And that guideline was littered with language saying, this is a gift, this is a benefit that the county doesn't have to provide, and it's only used when it doesn't impinge on business purposes. So it boils down to, it really doesn't matter what you use. It's a benefit. Many organizations use it. It helps us remain competitive. But that was my response to the change. I mean, it's a shell game, basically. Vacation and sick or just paid leave to use for that purposes. I will add another thing. The idea in the majority of the leave that our employees earn is really, there's no expectation that you're going to take 4 weeks off a year. 1 week, 2 weeks, that's the industry standard. The additional that they earn, that was in sick leave. The purpose of that is to provide them a short-term leave policy in the case of FMLA or serious sicknesses. What we did when we went to the vacation and sick, we were also required to go out for an RFP to solicit a vendor to provide short-term disability policy that our employees paid for at that time. So that's the short story. It's not probably accurate completely because I don't recall all the details. I just remember my part in it at that time. A couple notes. If we do approve this, there's some language. We didn't want to provide the whole strike-through language, but we would have to change some language that references vacation and sick and would change that to paid time off where appropriate. And then the effective date would actually be January because we're already in December for those accruals, and it will give us time to shift over in the system.
So what's the financial implication of this?
There is one addition to it. I'll defer to the financial people on that. That was requested to add into this is there are a little bit larger leave time payouts when someone separates with the county, retires or quits, and those are added to the public safety because they earn more. But as far as the cost, I'll defer to
I mean,
finance.
the payouts will be larger for those departments that carry a larger vacancy variance, so there'll be no change to the budget. And the accrual rates are the same as we're accruing now. It's just in one instead of two.
So what's the net change in the plan? You just line itemed it out and isolated it in the budget. What's the change?
There would be no
Not
change.
with any vacancy variance calculated
Well, I'd have to pull the actual numbers, but there would be no significant change.
We're just calling it one instead of
Yes.
another.
Mhm.
Okay. I guess I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around why the change occurred to begin with, and I know you can't really answer that.
Yeah, well, it was the administrator.
Was there a financial aspect?
Barry, can
to
you
that?
give us some insight on this since you were here at that time?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. What did occur at that time, there was thought that there was some abuse of the pay system or the leave system that we had.
We had people, oh, I'm so sorry, I thought you paused.
Oh, go ahead.
We had people scheduling sick time off for next month and 2 months down the road.
It was a management issue.
So the administrator decided to change it to a PTO basis.
Yes, to split the two into sick and vacation, in an attempt, I guess, to have more people on the job, people taking less time off.
And now we're going back to, are we,
A combined pool,
well, then isn't that going to result in the same abuse?
well, I would say we have people that always abuse leave policies. If you look at the system we have today, you will find people that have 0 vacation and 0 sick time. And they've been here more than 30 days. That's going to happen. That's a management issue. That's not a procedural or policy issue. That's more a managerial issue. And I think that
And to be frank and
Patrick.
candid, I never saw the evidence that there was any abuse in that system comparative to this, because we were in this system from 97 to 2003. I will tell you, being in that system, what I did observe is everybody, and at that time, in the first time we were in this system, we, what you would see, because we ran a report, it was hard to run, it was an AS400, but what you see largely in a lot of departments is all of their sick leave would be 0, and their vacation would be maxed out. At that time, when they left, because vacation is designated as a real wage, unless you put parameters on it, we paid out a total of 240 hours, whether you were here for 5 years or whether you were here for 25 years. When we changed to the paid time off, knowing that if we put in parameters, which is exactly what I did at that time, if you were here from 0 to 5 years, the maximum payout you got of that big bank, 80 hours. And we added 40 hours.
So why are we changing it?
Why are we changing it back to the pool? Because for 2 reasons. It gives it reduces the administrative, this is what the department said when we asked them. It reduces the sick leave police. Managers being sick, having to confirm whether it's sick, because sick leave notices are easily gotten.
The only problem I have with this is just the fact that we didn't have this soon enough to look at it.
Yeah, I
And
did.
digest it,
And that's completely fair.
because it wasn't in the packet. And I really would just like to see the financial implications of it before making a
Can we
recommendation.
move to defer to the next admin meeting? Or does it need to be done by a certain date? Sir?
No, sir. No, sir.
I guess I'm having a hard time understanding, like, if, it sounds to me, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, it sounds to me like we're going back to a policy that, 1, could be more expensive and 2, can be more easily abused, and I don't know that that's a great idea, but unless there's any disagreement with that on the part of remaining committee members, but it certainly, I think it needs to be investigated a little bit more.
Any other comments from the committee?
I think he's right. I think a little more time to look at it, if we're not under a timeline.
No, sir. As much time as you need.
Okay, so is that a motion to defer?
Motion to defer.
To the next admin meeting?
You want to defer all of the revisions till then, or just the leave part?
Probably just the leave part. Unless the chairman has a different,
I don't have a problem with that. You done with your presentation? Is that it?
One more section.
Let's go one more section then.
Okay.
then
And then
it is my-
the final section is, we've, under ethics, we've added some reporting requirements for those relationships that go beyond the normal working relationship in the environment.
So Dennis, you want to amend your motion to just
Sure.
pull out
Yeah.
the paid leave and then advance everything else to full council?
yeah, I'd like to amend the motion to just defer the portion of the policy change that refers to PTO and paid leave, and leave the remaining portions to advance to council.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
then we have to vote on the policy as amended with the deferment taken out.
All right, the ayes have it.
But do we have to then now vote on the policy?
Going
change?
back to the original motion to pass.
Yeah.
All in favor, aye?
Aye. Procedurally correct.
Sound like you did it good.
Doubly.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Patrick. Moving on to resolution authorizing the payout of the remaining COVID-19 leave bank hours established under the 2020 COVID-19 guidelines. Ms. Todd.
Yes, back in 2020, we gave out 80 hours of COVID leave that council approved. At the end of 2020, we did pay out half of that at full rate and left the remaining balances there indefinitely with no expiration date. 5 years later, we still have people carrying balances here. If we do consolidate to one bank, we would need to clear these out. So this resolution would approve a one-time payout for all remaining balances and the full rate of employees paid to mirror what we did back in 2020 and to make this accrual bank obsolete.
Any questions from the committee?
Are there,
How much money's in the bank?
yeah.
It would cost about $380,000 to pay this out, and it would be funded through ARPA insurance.
And it must be paid out, like it can't be
If we consolidate to
reallocated.
one bank, yeah, we cannot get rid of it anywhere.
Okay.
So
If we
should we roll
consolidate,
this over with
You
the paid
absolutely
leave?
can if you want to, yep. This was to offset the administration of one bank's consolidation.
Motion to defer this to the next admin meeting?
Motion.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to item C, a resolution to award Horry County Home Consortium funding. Ms. Beth Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. As you know, the Horry County receives HUD Home Investment Partnerships funding as part of our HUD entitlement, and this is a three-county program. We run it here in Horry County, but it includes programs in Georgetown County and also funds programs in Williamsburg County. In September 25th, 2025, we released a request for proposals for homes for home funding, and the applications were due on October 30th of 2025. We received 3 applications, and a review of applications was completed. The project review committee, including representatives from the 3 counties, reviewed and approved the recommendations to award. And so you have before you our recommendations for funding. This includes an award of $400,000 to the Eastern Carolina Housing Organization of tenant-based rental assistance that is designed to benefit 50 households. We also have a proposed award to Habitat for Humanity of Horry County. This is for Silver Creek Affordable Townhomes. This was a parcel that was purchased through ARPA funding, through that ARPA award. Now they're going to build affordable housing on that with this home award. So it would be $360,000 for 6 units. That's $60,000 of home funding per townhome at a $1.5 million total project cost. We also are recommending a Habitat for Humanity of Georgetown County award called Habitat on Hawkins. The total award amount would be $260,004 for 2 units. That's $130,002 per unit for a $347,174 total project cost. So we appreciate your consideration of the recommendations.
Any questions from the committee? Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion. Move so moved.
All in favor, aye? Ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to a resolution recognizing the Honorable Marilyn Hatley, the long-serving mayor of the city of North Myrtle Beach, for a career in public service, leadership, and conservation in Horry County.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
No questions.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to a resolution recognizing the Honorable Brenda Bethune, mayor of the city of Myrtle Beach, for dedicated public service, leadership, and preservation in Horry County.
Question?
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank
The
you.
ayes have it.
One of my best work.
Moving on to item F. Yes, good job, Mr. Chairman.
Keep it brief.
A resolution to authorize an increase in jury pay and mileage reimbursement rates for jurors in Horry County. Ms. Todd.
Yes, this resolution authorizes that increase. Current rate is $15 per day, and that's been in place for at least 30 years. We were not able to track back the start date, but we know it's been at least since the 80s. So we are proposing to increase that to $25 per day, which is approximately a 67% increase, and do the same with the mileage reimbursement of 67% increase. We have sufficient funds in the current account and the other magistrate accounts to cover this in the current budget, and we'll continue to look at these going forward if we can increase it in future budget years.
I assume these line up with Charleston County and Richland.
Not close, but we're getting there, yeah.
What are those? Do you
I
know?
can pull them, I don't have them at all. Ms. Renee, do you happen to know how much Charleston's paying their jurors right off?
I think they're paying 25,
Okay.
but I won't swear to that. Some counties are. Some counties are paying up to 30, but they don't pay mileage.
Okay.
And then some counties are paying less than we are. We don't want to talk about that.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to a resolution amending Resolution R 272025 to revise the interfund loan structure for the Eagle Trace Special Tax District. Ms. Todd.
So earlier this year, we passed this resolution for the interfund loan. At the request of the community, this project has now been delayed for 1 year. So with that, we would like to change the way this draw works and make it a draw-down structure. So therefore, their funds will remain available as they're needed, but interest will only accrue and be payable on the amounts actually drawn rather than the full loan amount.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to Community Benefit Fund request. Ms. Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first one we have today is Love for Paws Rescue. Funds will be used to provide veterinary care and pet food donations to individuals needing assistance. It's a total of $4,000 in combinations from Districts 1, 3, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11, and the chairman. The next one is for the Coastal Carolina Sertoma. Funds will be used to take underprivileged kids school shopping for Christmas. Purchases usually include items like shoes, clothing, coats, and toys. It's a total of $7,000 in combinations from Districts 1, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the chairman. The next one's for the American Legion Post 40. Funds will be used to help support their annual South Carolina Palmetto Boys and Girl State program, to purchase equipment to help maintain the exterior of their post, and to help support Nardmore House, which is a mission to assist homeless veterans. Total of $4,000 in combinations from Districts 3, 6, 8, and the chairman. The next one is for Tidal Paws Animal Rescue. Funds will be used to pay for vet care and supplies for the animals that they assist, a total of $2,000 from District 8. Then we're up to All Four Paws. Funds will be used to provide operating support to include food, shelter, and supplies, $2,000 from District 8. Kind Keeper, Inc. Funds will be used to provide veterinary care and rehabilitation supplies, $2,000 from District 8. And then the final one today is Beach Ball Classic. Funds will be used to assist high school teams with travel and transportation to and from the event, $15,000 from District 4.
Any additions from the committee? Entertain a motion to approve. Second. All in favor, aye. Ayes have it. There's some attachments in the packet for additional information. And is there any old business from the committee? Seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor, aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.